CDC goes woke. In an attempt to, quote, eliminate dehumanizing language, the agency published a new language guide to promote health equity and inclusive communication. The guide discourages using terms like alcoholic, smoker, uninsured, elderly, inmate, homeless, poor, disabled, homosexual, illegal immigrant. Yeah, a lot of things. But the CDC, under a major microscope these days, see what we did there, for the past year and a half, it's only a matter of time before they bent the knee to satisfy woke, science-defying demands. So, what's next and what do we make of this? Here to react, Rob Smith, host of Rob Smith is Problematic. Rob, always good to have you, my man.
Always good to be here, Buck.
So, the CDC is a massive federal bureaucracy, and I think it's important for people to know that these federal bureaucracies are, just like corporate boardrooms now, full of woke jargon and ideology. The preferred terms, to give some, they actually give you a chart here, Rob. Instead of inmate, say people or persons who are incarcerated. Instead of alcoholic, person with substance abuse disorder. Instead of a smoker, a person or people who smoke. I mean, your tax dollars at work here, Rob. What the heck?
Yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I think this is very indicative of how, we talk about this a lot because we're about 10, 15 years into this huge social media revolution. So everything that started in Twitter, everything that started in sociology one-on-one classes and college campuses, this has all made its way to some of the biggest organizations in our society. This is the Centers for Disease Control, right? This is the CDC. And they're saying that you have to use nicer language when we're talking about smokers. We have to use a nicer language when we're talking about people that have alcohol addiction issues, probably people that have obesity. So these are the issues that the CDC exists to try to combat, and we have to speak plainly about these issues if we really want to combat them. But now they are bowing to the Marxists and the woke mob of Twitter to sort of change the language. To me, it is very infuriating, and it's also very sinister in a way because, like I said, Buck, when these people can control your language, when they control what you call things, when they control the way in which you speak, they can control everything. So we have a CDC that is completely controlled by woke leftists that came out of Twitter. It's actually unbelievable.
I mean, some of these too, Rob, it's amazing that they clearly feel like there's some kind of a benefit just from the performative act of trying to seem highly sensitive. I mean, you can't call someone homeless. You have to say it's a person experiencing homelessness. I mean, no rational adult could say that out loud and say that this is a worthwhile expenditure of time and taxpayer dollars, or forget about even the taxpayer, just anyone's time, energy, effort, and money here. But I do think it goes to a broader level of what you're bringing up, which is that indoctrination, ideological indoctrination to be woke leftists is now infiltrating and all over the federal bureaucracy.
Yeah, it really has. And the thing that is the most off-putting about this whole thing is that the CDC, this is yet another organization that people used to trust, right? People are not going to trust them with this woke left language. And God knows that after the coronavirus pandemic and dealing with all of this stuff, the people's trust of these institutions are less and less. But how are we going to combat these things? How are we going to combat things like obesity? How are we going to combat things like homelessness? How are we going to combat all of these things that these federal bureaucracies are supposed to combat if we cannot even speak of them plainly? Oh, we can't fight obesity because, we can't call it obesity. We have to call it people experiencing obesity, or we can't fight homelessness. We have to watch our language before we get real about that stuff. And a lot of the issues that are going on in society right now, and you and I talk about this a lot, is because people cannot speak plainly and openly about these issues. But for the far left ideologues that now control the CDC, for the woke Twitter mafia that pushes their language orthodoxy on everything, this is what they want because they want to control the language. They don't necessarily want to fix these issues. It is ridiculous. It is a waste of taxpayer dollars. I honestly can't even believe we're talking about it, but this is just where we are right now. And let me make one more point.
Sure.
This stuff is not going to end once we get the senile buffoon that's in office right now out. this stuff is going to become, in the words of the left, systemic. So we're going to be dealing with this stuff and these changes that are being made right now for decades to come. It's unbelievable.
And Rob, I mentioned that this is all over the federal bureaucracy, all over the federal government. We were just talking about the CDC and their word guide a second ago. You know, the DOJ has hired its first ever chief diversity officer. Chief diversity officer, according to a statement put out, will join the Deputy Assistant Attorney General to lead and coordinate the department's diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. The advertised salary for this job makes up to $172,000 a year. I mean, Rob, this to me, it's like in the Soviet Union when they had political commissars who were in every unit of the military, every major factory, every government body. A person whose job was just to walk around and make sure that you only thought and said the approved things by the party. That's from the perspective of a leftist, what it seems to me the chief diversity officer at DOJ is going to be doing.
But, it's not even that. Okay. So I believe that, if we're having different, people in different roles, I think that you should get the best person for the job. People want diversity, inclusion. Like, I understand all of that. But with a position like this, it's for nothing else but the Biden administration, all these people to trot whoever this person is out to be on panels, to go on cable news, to do all of this stuff, and to get paid, to the tune of $172,000 a year. That is going to come from taxpayer money. So these positions, these sort of diversity officers, they exist in pretty much every aspect of society. All the mainstream corporations, Madison Avenue, advertising agencies, etc. These people generally do nothing. They are just people that are trotted out to be on panels, to be the public face of quote unquote diversity for the organization, while the organization does absolutely nothing. And furthermore, this is not even about diversity or inclusion or any of these other buzzwords. This is about them finding people who adhere to their particular ideology.